Hello YouTube, this is Reverend Evan Sackett. I hope that you all enjoyed the Waverly Hills Sanatorium videos that I posted last week. This video is going to be something about a more lurid subject matter. Any of you who know anything about what I do know that I'm an author, and I've written a couple of books, Inferiority and the Barbaric Soul. And if you've read these books, you know that they both center around serial killers. Now, books are for what other reason than entertainment, but I am trying to sound a note of caution in these books. Now, I'm not trying to say that we should be terrified of the outside world, because obviously paranoia and terror can actually lead to more problems than it resolves. But we need to be aware of the evil that lurks. And I don't think that we are. Now, a lot of women think that they are. For instance, they will have people accompany them to their cars. They're always on the lookout. They don't like to park in a parking lot at night. And they don't like to walk long distances in the dark, which are, you know, all good precautions to take. However, that's a great precaution to take against, say, a random serial killer or a mugger or a possible rapist, but it's not the best precaution that you could think of to take against the most likely killer. The most likely killer is going to be someone that you know, possibly very well, and more than likely trust. Because in order to be victimized, a person has to be vulnerable most of the time. I'm a criminologist, so I've studied this very thoroughly. A person, especially a female at this day and time, is usually on guard most of the time. For instance, they get a knock on the door at 1 in the morning. They open up the door and it's a stranger. The woman's immediately going to be on guard. She's probably not even going to answer the door. She's going to pick up the phone and call the police possibly before she even approaches the door. She probably has a handgun under her couch and she'll pull out the handgun and get ready. Okay? But in most cases, this is not what is going to happen. Who's going to knock on that door? It's going to be Uncle Tom. It's going to be next door neighbor Jim. It's going to be an old friend from high school, someone that she knows. She's going to open the door and feel automatically relieved. Oh, I know him. Hey, can I come in for a minute? My car broke down. I need to use your phone. Sure. She opens the door. He walks in. She turns around. He puts a gun to her head. Says, "All right, bitch. Just let me fuck you, and everything's going to be all right." He pulls her down to the ground. He rips her clothes off, and he rapes her. "All right, bitch. If you don't suck my cock, I'm going to shoot you in your fucking face." This all sounds very graphic, I know, but this is the way it happens. Believe me, I have studied this. And we need to be aware of just how evil this can go. These people who commit these acts are literally in a trance. They will fly into a rage, and it's very difficult to describe. It's almost like a transcendental morph, where their mind begins to compartmentalize all sense of remorse, all sense of right and wrong, any sense of anything, and it's nothing but pure rage, pure animal instinct to engage in whatever barbaric action they see fit. And they will do so. Usually these barbaric actions are heightened by drug use, by alcohol use, by schizophrenia or what have you. But they are heightened nonetheless. And the bottom line is that a great majority of murders are committed by individuals who know the victim. And that is how the victim becomes the victim, because they are in a vulnerable position, because they know the person and are not on their guard. Now, am I saying that you should be terrified of Uncle John or your next door neighbor? Of course not. What I'm saying is you should never let your guard down. And this is true of men too, you know, not just women. And okay, in a woman's case, the person that's usually going to try to attack or murder her is usually going to be either a person who is drug-induced and wants to engage in some sort of sick sexual activity with her, and then kill her, of course, to keep her from turning him in. or he's wanting to rob her, or he's simply a sadistic serial murderer. And of course this is an unlikely scenario, because usually the next door neighbor Jim, if he did turn out to be a serial murderer, probably wouldn't kill a woman he knew. A quote-unquote professional, I don't like using this word, but a quote-unquote professional serial killer, so to say, will not murder people that he knows, because he's very methodical, very intelligent. Just because a person is sick does not mean they are not intelligent. So they will most likely kill people that have absolutely no connection to them, none whatsoever. But the serial murderers are not the ones you got to worry about all the time. You know, I mean, the serial murderer is not going to walk up and mug you, most likely, while you're walking to your car at 2 in the morning. A serial murderer is going to pull up while you're pumping gas. He's going to be a kind, smiley man with probably a suit and a tie on and a pair of glasses and say, "Ma'am, can you help me with my directions?" Or he's going to approach you on the interstate and yell out the window that your tire is going flat or something of that nature. But all that aside, you most likely won't encounter a serial murderer. What you will encounter is an individual who is going to strike a random kill. And it's unlikely that you'll encounter any of these scenarios, but I've always said, no matter how small the chances are, there's no way to determine who those chances are going to land on. You see what I'm saying? There may be 1 in 100 chance, a 1 in a million chance that it could happen, but there's no way of knowing who that one's going to be. It could be you as much as anyone else. So you have to be on your guard and prepared at all times, and that's the way I feel that anyone should be. Now, this is the case of women. Like I just said, most likely a killer who tries to approach a woman, especially if he knows her, is going to probably want to murder her for sexual reasons, and the only reason he's murdering her is to keep her silent. In a man's case, usually a man will be murdered a lot of times for some sort of financial reason. For instance, if there is a life insurance policy out on the man, maybe his wife may kill him, or business partners very often will end up being murder victims at the hands of their other business partners, things of this nature. And it's a lot more complex for men than it is for women, the types of murders that would happen for a man. In this case scenario, a lot of times the elderly are especially vulnerable victims, mostly for robberies, especially for drugs. If you get a bunch of junkies that are jonesing and they break into an elderly person's house and they're looking for Oxycontin and Percocet, they're gonna, beat and torture these elderly people for a couple of Percocets, and they're not thinking of, I just murdered 2 people. They're not thinking of, I could get a death sentence for this. All they're thinking of is, yeah, I got 2 Percocets. I had to kill 2 people, but I got 2 Percocets. I'm 1 step closer. And that's all they think about. But the bottom line is try to be more aware of the evil that lurks in the world. And I just remember talking to a therapist one time, and I was telling her about these things, and she could not understand why I studied these things. She said, "Why do you want to study these things? Why are you telling me this?" And I told her, just because you don't want to believe something is real doesn't mean it is. And it is exactly that type of denial that causes people to be victims, because you don't want to believe that it's real. And in America, we have a very bad tendency to live in illusion. Alright? Wake up, people. Life is not all about your Mercedes in your driveway and your $200,000 house and your picket fence and your soccer wife and your kids going to basketball practice and ballet practice. In any second, in any instant, something could shatter that world. You wake up the next morning to find the police at your door telling you that your wife has been found in a ditch. And I'm trying to warn you as to ways you can prevent that from happening. I hope that this has been helpful to you in some manner.